Thank you, Dean Lindsay, for that gracious and flattering introduction. If she would have read off every single thing that I tried to accomplish or risk, we'd be here for an extremely long graduation ceremony. So I'll let her we'll get past that. Good morning to all the members of the platform party, distinguished faculty, honored guests, families, and most importantly, the graduates. I'm extremely humbled and thankful to be included in your special day and have the honor to speak to all of you. I must disclose, however, before I begin, that I have some of my former professors here and teachers, so I'll go ahead and let you know I wasn't always the best student. I took what I'd like to call the scenic route in college, and I used to laugh when I'd hear my mother in the other room talking to some of her friends saying, "Did your son say that he elected an academic red shirt?" So and yeah, I still have student loans as well. Just to let all of you know, I still pay them each month. But I think the most important thing with what I'd like to speak to you about is the fact that I graduated. I actually completed it and got it done. And as I walked out of this very field house, Maddox, I had this unbelievable confidence that I now had this asset that was tangible, but it was also something that I couldn't tell you how much confidence it gave me. It wasn't an asset that you'd find in a business plan, a private placement memorandum, or a balance sheet. It was more of a mental asset that I had. It was a feeling of confidence that this asset could never be taken away from me. My little, what I'd like to call a risk mitigation device, as I later termed it, learning more about business. If you listen to most famous success gurus or tapes or books, every single person generally always mentions risk. And what is risk? And that it's the greatest factor in what people would say can achieve success. But the interesting thing about it is most people are very fearful of it, and I've always been interested in that. And I must say the same thing. I was when I sat in those exact chairs, and when I got here, I was unbelievably nervous and unbelievably scared to death of what I would have to do after I got this degree, or what my parents thought I should do, or what my friends and family thought I should do, and what everyone else thought I should do. I was very, very scared. But when I walked out of Maddox Fieldhouse, that fear really dissipated because I knew I had something in my hand that no one could, that asset, that risk mitigation device that would allow me to now be fearless. With that, I felt that same feeling 2 different times in my life. And I'd like to share 2 of those little stories with you just because it was the exact same feeling as walking out of those doors with that special asset. The first one was when I decided to venture west to Los Angeles. I bought this little Honda Civic, which as many of you know is not a big car, and I packed every single thing I could into it and decided I'm going to go ahead and take the road less traveled. Well, as many of you know, driving through Texas, it's a big state. And when you take the road less traveled, and you take it 3 times and get lost, it's a really big state. So while driving through Texas, I had many different thoughts going through my head. I probably cried halfway through it not because I was scared, but because I was leaving a couple of things behind. And probably also the fact that I had this Nelly CD that got stuck in my CD player, and I ended up memorizing the whole thing, and now I cannot drive through Texas without that subconsciously playing in my head. But as I got to Los Angeles, and I had taken the risk to go there, each day got a little bit better and a little bit better. And then I was really fortunate that our great state of Louisiana ended up passing this tax incentive program, now called the Louisiana Motion Picture Tax Incentive Program. So after being in Los Angeles for about 4 or 5 years, I decided to take another risk and come back. Again, having that same feeling and that same confidence. I came back and I was here for about 2 months, and then unfortunately, I got sick with something called Crohn's disease. And as you know, when you take a lot of risk in life, they don't always work out exactly as you want them to. So Coming back, I remember I didn't have health insurance. I had maybe $40 in my pocket and my checking, including savings account. And I was diagnosed with Crohn's and admitted to Earl K. Long Hospital. So I was laying there, what essentially would be called as I thought, my deathbed. I weighed about 110 pounds, had all these IVs running in and out of me. And as I lay there and listened to the doctors talking to my mother and telling her that, well, we're not sure how this is going to work out, I had two overwhelming thoughts that came to mind. And the first one was that I wanted to find my cell phone so I could call all the people that I loved and really tell them that. But the second one was the same exact feeling of walking out of the field house, was that I prayed and prayed and prayed. And I asked God, if I get out of here, I will risk every single thing I could ever dream of and never be fearless again. 3 days later, I walked out. It took a little while to get going. A month later, I worked on a film here. 2 weeks after that, that's when I started the fleet Hollywood trucks. Since that part, every single thing in my life has just been unbelievable. Each day I wake up and I feel so fortunate. But the thing I want to talk to all the graduates about was, again, that asset or that risk mitigation device that allowed me to make some of those very difficult decisions, or what I thought was difficult. It was that education. That was the single greatest asset of any single thing I've ever had or ever owned or ever factored into any business plan or company strategy. I'm not going to stand here and tell you just because you get a diploma in education that success is going to happen. You have to work hard. But I will say that, yes, I did lose everything. I lost the telltale story. I lost everything in my life 3 times. I remember living in Los Angeles in a 1-bedroom apartment. I didn't have any furniture. I slept on the floor, sharing $15 with my best friend so we could make it meals through the week, wearing the same suit probably 6 times just through the week so I could allow the dry cleaning to last as long as possible. And all of these things drove my mother really insane, as I'm sure the parents here are sitting here thinking, oh my gosh, what is this guy telling my kids? But the thing that I'd like to say as well was that she always stood by me, and I think part of that, or most of that, was the fact that she was also an educator and understood the importance of what a diploma, a degree, and education stood for. She taught for 35 years, so no matter what I told her I was going to do or going to try, she sat there and just always said, okay, go for it, son, go for it. In conclusion, I'd like to ask all of the graduates here today, first of all, I'd like to say congrats, obviously, but I'd like to ask each one of you a couple of favors. At the end of all of this, when you've made hundreds of millions of dollars, you've got multiple honorary degrees, you've got your foundations and your trust, I'd like to ask you to give it back. Give it back to your school and give back the same gift of education that you now have. I was raised by my grandfather, and he used to always say, you know, Andre, you've never seen a hearse with a U-Haul behind it. And that used to... I didn't really understand at that time what it meant, but I do now as I stand here and actually can't wait to get back to my alma mater and my school. On a closing note, I'd like to say again, congratulations. The world's waiting for you. Work hard, love hard, pray harder, stay persistent, keep your shoes polished, keep your nose clean, thank your parents profusely, donate to your alma mater, and be very proud of yourself of what you've accomplished. I'd also like to tell you, risk everything and go after your dream, because you have an education, the greatest asset in the world that no one can take away from you. And lastly, something I always keep in mind as I flip through channels and watch the Animal Planet, I've never once seen a tiger run away from anything. Be fearless.